Well, David, a lot of focus today on China allowing the yuan to appreciate. And it seems that markets have responded to that, but it appears any appreciation is going to be very gradual, though.
Well, I think that's an important consideration, Stephen, the fact that the Chinese authorities are going to manage that process rather than just allow the currency to strengthen dramatically. And I think that's important because it takes some of the disruptive or the potential disruptive element out of the market. And I think the market's really taking heart that over time this will allow the imbalances that do exist in the global trade situation to be evened out. And at this point in time, it's being seen as risk positive, and hence we're seeing currencies like the rand benefiting.
But at the same time, we've also seen gold hitting a new record high, and usually that would be responding to risk aversion. Do you think there are still some skeptics out there who are pushing this gold price higher?
Yeah, I think gold started last week or the week before on a bit of as a hedge against fiat currencies. However, what we're now seeing is that the metal still continuing to gain and to benefit on the back of this move, and it really brings into question confidence around the whole currency system around the world. We've seen the euro in the last couple of months really come under pressure as the fiscal deficits in southern Europe come into play. And, that issue is not going to go away, and I think gold has benefited as a hedge against many currencies at this point.
But at the same time, we have seen the euro firm up a little bit as well against the dollar, trading above 124 to the greenback. Of course, coming out at the end of last week, we had that Spanish bond auction on Thursday, which was well subscribed. We also had on Friday talk that the 25 banks being stress tested, the results of those would be made public. And that seems to have given a bit of comfort to the markets at this stage.
Yeah, I think the euro is coming to some short covering, but also the Chinese move brings into question how they're going to manage their reserves going forward. When it was pegged to the dollar, it was all about Chinese purchases of dollars and using those dollars to buy US treasuries. Now it's a much more managed float against the basket of currencies, and perhaps the focus for the Chinese in any case moving away from simply a dollar peg to a managed currency peg. That's going to take some shine of the dollar, and it's going to allow some guys to speculate that perhaps the Asians, in any case, in their reserve management, will include a lot more other currencies, including the euro and pound.
Of course, last month we had the Chinese central bank saying it wouldn't be selling its euro holdings, and that was after speculation in the media had seen the euro weaken quite dramatically. Do you think that it could start accumulating, as you just mentioned, more euros?
Yeah, I certainly think that their activity in the market is going to be fairly widespread. It makes a lot of sense not to hold those reserves in any one particular currency, because as we've seen, there's risks associated to that philosophy. So a much broader peg actually suits their reserve management, and I guess we'll just have to see over time, Stephen, how that plays itself out. But for the moment, a lot of the negative bias that was focused on the euro has dissipated as we've had these talks around the stress tests for the European banks. And now, of course, the Chinese move, a lot of the bearishness has been taken off the euro for now, I think.
David, do you think some of the reaction we've seen in the markets this morning may have been a bit overdone, given the very gradual appreciation that's likely to come out from China?
Yeah, Stephen, I think, the big move in the euro was obviously last week, and I think a lot of this activity that we're seeing today is a reaction to the news that we've seen over the weekend. But the euro was very, very well bid for most of last week, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Asian authorities were making a move already prior to the announcement, and hence we've seen a little bit, an undertone, a bullish undertone to the euro recently. I don't think anything's overdone at this point in time, except perhaps maybe the equity move, the short-term equity move has been a bit knee-jerk. A lot of confidence coming into the system. But I think overall in the long term, medium to long term, what the Chinese have done is a very good thing as far as global imbalances are concerned.
David, just looking ahead at the rand this week, we have quite a bit of local data coming out. Of course, we do know that the rand tends to react more to the international data, but we have CPI coming out on Wednesday, PPI on Thursday. We also have the Reserve Bank's quarterly bulletin, which will tell us what the current account deficit is sitting at the moment. What are you looking for in those numbers this week?
Stephen, I think the data that will come out in the coming days and weeks as far as South Africa is concerned will probably confirm that we don't need another interest rate adjustment lower. Of course, if the currency continues to strengthen and raises concerns around that issue, then perhaps the Reserve Bank will be forced into making a move. But I think the economic data coming out will show that inflation certainly is under control, but there's an underlying growth to the economy. Demand starting to pick up as far as the consumer is concerned, and I think all these numbers will just come out and show that the interest rate regime needs to be kept on hold for now.
What are you expecting from CPI on Wednesday? Because I know the market's looking for a figure of about 4.6%, and that's down from 4.8% in April. Are you in line with that thinking?
Yeah, I think pretty much as expected, Stephen. As far as demand is concerned, there's not a lot of inflationary pressure. Really, the only pressure is coming from the wage increases and tariff hikes as far as Eskom is concerned, that kind of thing. But from a demand perspective, I don't think there's a lot of pressure on inflation at the moment, and we're looking, it will come out as expected. I'm very close to that number.
And the rand from its current levels, where would you expect that to go?
Yeah, it's very, very quiet at this point. The market is trying to digest what the Chinese have done. I think certainly from in the short term, the risk appetite has increased, and it wouldn't surprise me on the back of that sentiment that the rand can move slightly stronger than 740 at this point in time. But really, it's around about what the equity market does from here and what the dollar does from here, broadly speaking. But I do see a lot of risk appetite coming from offshore, and that should be positive for the rand.
David, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your insights this afternoon.